Do you have a cutting board that looks like it's about to kick the bucket? Well, let's turn it into a beautiful modern art masterpiece with just a few easy steps. We'll introduce the fountain of youth back into your cutting board. The first step is to give it a good bath. Warm soap and water will do just fine. We want to make sure we get any leftover stuck food, oils, donut glaze, bugs, whatever you have on your board, we got to get it off. The cutting board oil will not be able to penetrate through the foreign matter that may be on top of the board. Plus, your cutting board is supposed to be clean anyway, right? Wash both sides and the edges. Give it a rinse and wipe it with a paper towel. Let it dry for about 10 minutes. Now that the board is dry, this is the oil that I'll be using. This isn't a product that was sent to me or sponsored. I've been using this product for years and it works great. I'll leave a link to all the products and a smaller bottle in the description box. It's food safe and can be used for any wood surface that will have contact with food. The purpose of this oil is to bring the wood fibers back to life. It's to be used with a conditioner cream that I'll talk about a little later, so just stay a little longer. Feel free to pause at any time and zoom in if you'd like to read the fine details. It's a new feature YouTube has added. Alright, next is just to pour some of the oil on top of the board. As you can see, a dry cutting board will soak in a bunch of oil during the first application. Grab a towel or a paper towel and just work it in. You will soon realize you need more oil. Pour it on and don't be stingy. Just keep working it into the wood. Don't forget about the edges, they need loving too. Flip it over and do the exact same thing for the other side. The reason behind maintaining any wood surface, whether it's a cutting board, butcher block countertop, or a tabletop, is to first keep it looking brand new just like the day you bought it, or made it. I actually made this cutting board about 8 years ago and it's still going strong. I wish I made a video of it, but this was way back before my YouTube days. By oiling the board, it also prevents cracking by keeping the wood hydrated. And as a side note, don't ever put a wooden cutting board in the dishwasher. The heat inside can cause the glue to soften and the wood to expand. If that happens, severe cracking will occur, so don't do it. Once you're done with the application of the oil, stand it up on the edge if possible and let it sit overnight. And if I have anyone out there thinking about starting a YouTube channel and wonder what equipment I use for my overhead shots, I use this ULANZI overhead camera mount which works fantastic. I'll leave a link in the description along with all the other equipment that I use. After resting overnight, it's time for the next step. This is the board cream which is used alongside the oil we used prior. The cream's purpose is to create a waxy barrier on top of the board to lock in moisture and prevent staining. I'll show you at the end of this video on how water will just bead right off. Get a towel and wipe off any excess oil on both sides and the edges. Next, squirt out a little dollop of cream on the board and just like the oil, work into the wood. The cream is a little thicker and you won't have to use too much of it. The board has already soaked in a lot of the oil previously and the cream will just soak into the very top layer of the wood, creating an excellent barrier. You might have been thinking if you could use any type of oil for a cutting board, such as olive oil, vegetable oil, and so on. The answer to that is no. Those oils, when placed on the board, may give it a shiny, elegant look at first, but those oils will degrade over time and become rancid. They will give your board a bad smell and transfer a disgusting taste to your food, so don't do it. Oiling the board also helps to fill in any small scratches or dents, which creates less space for harmful bacteria to enter. And you don't want those tiny creatures living inside your cutting board. I would also advise not cutting any raw meat on your board. You could probably get away with it at first, but once it's time for the board to be oiled up again and it loses that oil barrier, raw meat juices will get into the wood fibers and will be extremely difficult to get rid of. I actually made that mistake a few years ago and cut raw fish on my board. Well, the smell of fish soaked into the board and man, it stunk. I washed it multiple times with soap and water and it did nothing. So what I did was squeeze lemon juice over the board, sprinkle some baking soda on top, rub the baking soda once it starts to bubble up right into the wood, especially if you have any small dents or scratches. Once you have finished applying the baking soda, take it outside and place it into the sun. I washed it and repeated the process one more time, and after the second time, the smell was totally gone. And if you're wondering where I got this beautiful jumbo Jenga set, I'll leave a link in the top corner once I'm done with that DIY video. So now I learned my lesson and I use a plastic cutting board for any raw meats. Learn from my mistakes, everyone. Once you're done applying the cream, stand it up and let it sit overnight. When the next day hits, wipe off any excess and you just found the fountain of youth to resurrect this once dying cutting board back to life. Here's a demonstration of the barrier that gets created once we're done. Water or any other food juices will just bead up and will not penetrate the board. Maintain your board once a month depending on how often you use it and it will last for a very long time. If you're thinking about a recipe that you can make using your new rejuvenated cutting board, check this out. I'll see you on that next video. Smash that like button and have a blessed day.